Hey, welcome to Creative Cooking. Today we're going to break some rules. That's right. We're going to make what would look like chipped beef with salami. And some people would look at that and say, my God, that's blasphemy. How dare you? And I'm like, well, you got to be willing to try something new once in a while, don't you? And so I got 8 ounces, or just over 8 ounces, of hard salami, and I cut it up as if I were cutting up some of that Budding's dried beef. And like with anything else, you have to separate the pieces, but those will come apart as you cook it, right? And so I took some of the butter that I'm going to use for the bechamel, or otherwise known as white sauce, or white gravy. And I went ahead and I got the pan started so I could start to cook that salami. You see, cooking the salami is going to do a couple of things. It's going to render out some fat. It's also going to get rid of some of the liquid and make it more like that dried beef that we're supposed to be using for making this, right? Well, I don't think it really matters. It really doesn't. Because in light of recent events, I'm willing to try different things. Of course, I always have. And I reasoned that, well, this is thin and it's made out of pork and beef or something like that. So why don't we give it a try? And so now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and make our white gravy, or otherwise known as a bechamel, which is one of the 5 mother sauces, right? And we can go ahead and we can use this to make white gravy, as you say. Or we can make a regular gravy. We can add chicken broth to it and make it a velouté. But no, we're going to cook that for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to add cold milk all at once. And that's going to become our bechamel. Now, it doesn't have to be a bechamel, right? I mean, it can be whatever you call it. I call it a bechamel. And so we want to just keep that moving, and that's going to allow that fat, which has just been quickly cooled off when we threw the cold milk in there, and that's going to make a huge difference. It's going to allow that flour to be dispersed throughout the milk and begin to thicken it. And after a couple of minutes, it looks like the moon. Looks like craters on the moon. And when it reaches that stage, you go ahead and you put the meat back in. Or if you were using Budding's, you would just put in your cut of Budding's into the cream. Cream sauce, bechamel. You can call it whatever you want. But one thing I did notice when I was making this is that even though I followed the recipe exactly, it was too thick. Okay, and I had to thin it out, and it always happens with this particular flour that I use. And I realized, well, that's because it's very high in protein, and a high protein flour is going to require more liquid to thin it out. So that's a simple process. You just keep some milk in nearby and thin it out. You could even do it with water if you wanted to. There's so much flavor in here. But yes, in light of recent events, I can't help feeling that you got to think outside the box. You got to try different things, like, wait, why just toast the bread? Why not grill it? And as I did this, and I smelt the grilled bread and flipped it over, I said, jeepers, man, what if I made a grilled cheese and then put the gravy with the beef, or the salami in this case, over the grilled cheese? And I thought to myself, oh my God, that would be decadent, wouldn't it? It would be wonderful. But I guess the moral of this story is, just because you think there's only one way to do things doesn't mean that there's only one way to do things. Be willing to try new things, my friends. Try using hamburger, or even corned beef next time. How about smoked sausage? I don't think it really matters. There's no right way, and there's no wrong way. So I'm going to leave you with that, my friends, and I hope you come back each week for more great videos made for people who like to cook. Until then, bon appetit.